Welcome back to big mistake number 5. So now big mistake number 5 is an interesting mistake because it actually looks like quite a small mistake really, doesn't it?
Yes.
But it's like, it's obvious and yet not obvious. And when you get it, you'll be going, oh my God. But you've got to be open up. You've got to open up and say, okay, let's get into some awareness of, am I doing this? So the mistake is that we actually keep trying to do the same thing over and over again to get a different result. Now, how mad is that? Now,
yeah, you probably heard that expression before. The first sign of madness. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, that's the big mistake that we keep seeing people making. We were just talking about it was a few minutes ago and going, well, but when we think about the people that we've worked with, we see that that's the big thing, is that they keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah, so I've only got to think back to my first wife, bless her, and how I used to be saying to her, look, I've tried everything I know. Now, the operative word is try, okay? Because try is an interesting word, and if you're a Star Wars fan, you might remember Luke Skywalker in the early days moving stones with his mind. He's obviously had a change of mindset because Yoda, the little, big-eared thing, he taught him how to move stones with his mind, and then he crashed his aeroplane, and then Yoda said to him, look, do what you did. And obviously Luke says, yeah, but moving stones is one thing, moving a spaceship with your mind is something completely different. And Yoda goes, no, it's the same. It's only in your mind that it's different,
Isn't that amazing?
So then he says, okay, I'll give it a try. And Yoda says, oh, there is no try. You do or you do not. There is no try, So what we do is we keep trying. So if I said to Nikki, look, try and take that out of my hand. She either...
Yeah.
You're in the situation, she knows it, But of course, a lot of people actually go, and I go, no, you're taking
That's doing.
That's doing it, and then they go, okay, well, I won't touch it. Well, that's not doing anything either, So you can't try. There is no try. You can't try to take it. You either do or you don't. Now, in relationships, what does that mean? It means that we keep doing the same thing, whatever that might be. So, some examples. We've got this young girl who came to us 3 years ago. Somebody who's had an unbelievable, life-changing experience because she stopped trying to do the same thing and expecting a different result. Now, she wanted to be. If I said to her, well, what do you want to be? I want to be a superstar, I want to be a model, and I want to be a singer, and I want to be an actress. That's my truth. I'd like to live in Hollywood. Well, how many girls, in their early 20s would like to have that, But of course, what happened when things weren't going her way, she had a pattern. So your awareness of this has got to be, okay, what's my pattern? What do I do when things get tough? What do I have to do when things aren't going the way I want it to do? What do I do? Well, her pattern was very easy to see, so you would have seen it as well. So when she got stressed or we asked her a difficult question, she had very long hair, very long dark hair, and she used to hide behind her hair like this, and then look out like this, So whenever things got tough, she did this, and that was her pattern. But of course, she still, from here, wanted to be an actress and a superstar. Well, how many people are going to be an actress and a superstar from here? I mean, she's got to be very outgoing, completely different. Well, what she did is, she came to us, the experts who'd found their way through the mire of trying to go, okay, what does not doing this look like? Yes. Well, firstly, it's of course becoming aware that you're doing something that you keep doing over and over again that's not getting you the result you want. So what we did, we actually both did the same thing separately before we met. We both decided to go and see someone. I mean, as I said, in my first marriage, I kept saying, look, I keep trying. I've tried everything I know. But of course, somebody once said to me, it's what have you not tried? What is it that you don't know? And that really opened me up. And what I did is I went to an expert. I went to an expert who had got a life that I would have loved to have lived. And I said, okay, what can I learn from this person? And interestingly enough, we actually went to see the same amazing person. And both of us on our first visit had an amazing, life-changing experience,
But yes, the actual realisation of what we've been doing, which were the subtle things. I think what you were talking about with the girl that we were talking about, is that was to her, I mean, she just certainly was not aware that she was doing it, and it was a very subtle reaction to being, to trying to get a result by just doing the same things, and like, so what? And I look back at my old relationships, and I think, oh my God, I was just like, I'd get into a situation with my husband, and I would just do the same thing. I'd try. Well, my pattern was to be logical. Right, that never worked, of course, but it was like I'd be going, but this is the way, this is what we said would happen, and this is what we do, and everything. His behaviour was always the same as well. He'd get very emotional about it. So you see, what I look back now and I think, what was the point of a logical person thinking that being even more logical every time and time again was going to have an effect on somebody who was also being very emotional about everything, and illogical, if you like. And so, what was so great about this girl was that she just realised that, and that she physically made some changes. So you might want to think to yourself, because it was interesting that first example you thought of was somebody who's doing something physical. Well, one of the things that you may have heard, but it's always worth repeating, is that the influence we have over another human being, be that in our work or whether it's in an intimate relationship or any relationship, is that the way we influence another person is actually mostly more than 50% by our body language. Absolutely. And the way we move and hold ourselves. The other 30-odd% is the tonality that we use, and it's only 7% words. Now, that was such a huge breakthrough for me. Such a huge breakthrough that I realised when I learned that, and when I started to teach it to other people, and they're going, oh my God, that's why I don't get the audition. That's why I don't get the job. That's why I don't get into the relationship. So just that one thing you could look at. You could say, well, I keep trying the same thing in the same kind of physiology, Americanized word, body language, body position, body movement. Keep trying that over and over again, and I'm not getting a different result. So what she did was such a great example, is that she literally went from, her habit was, as Tony said, to be sitting there like this, and she'd like talk from underneath her hair. And then she started wearing her hair tied back or in a ponytail or brushed right back, and she would actually walk in the room and present herself like this, and she was actually a trained dancer, wasn't it? And stand like a dancer. Well, the guys in the room were going, wow, what an amazing woman. And remember, the big mistake before, not because she's beautiful, of course, but she is a beautiful girl, and because she looked happy and confident in herself, and she wasn't running this old pattern of what we would call playing small. So she's a great example. Another great example is a guy that we've had here come here recently, who's got a personality style. Another interesting thing about your awareness of who you are and how you show up, and the things that you keep doing over and over again trying to get a different result, is the style of personality. So not just how you hold your body, or what your personality looks like to other people. And he's got this kind of cool personality where he's got this like dry sense of humour, this kind of almost like sarcasm. And he actually had this massive breakthrough a couple of weeks ago when he was here, and he said, oh my God, I realised that this sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But to get in connection with people, I have been being sarcastic, or what he actually called rude. He's going like, I was actually rude to people, and I can actually see that I'm not getting a good reaction from them. I can see that the majority, 99% of people, unless he happens to come across somebody else who runs that pattern who likes that, are moving away from him, so he's disconnecting from people. He said, I could see that was happening and didn't know what to do differently. And I could notice myself keep doing it, thinking, why am I being rude to somebody and being sarcastic and blunt with them, when actually all it's doing is moving them away. And of course he's had a series of intimate relationships, hasn't he, where literally the women are kind of going, that's not good for me. I mean, being rude and blunt to your intimate partner is a big, big no-no.
Yeah. So what is it that you'll keep doing? What's your pattern? What do you keep trying and hoping, really? That's another bad word in our house. What are you hoping you're going to get a different result from doing the same thing? Whether it's physiological. And again, as I say, you can always see it with other people. So if you see somebody walking down the street a little bit like this, you'll very quickly build a sort of a response in you to that to that state, won't you? Whereas if you see someone walking down the road like this, you're going to be different. So the thing is not to be looking at them and judging them for what they're doing, but to be looking at yourself and going, okay, so how do I hold myself? How do I, appear to other people? Because if you try something different, which is what we both learned. I mean, if I look at my physiology, only 4 years ago, I definitely had a more crunched down shoulders and, more like this. This is more a sort of a lower self-esteem thing. And today I'm much more solid, much more upright, more stronger shoulders. So all I did was to do something quite simple and tiny, different, but actually it makes me feel completely different, and of course the effect it has on other people is completely different. So.
Yeah, and I mean, so many times, how many times do you think about when you're in a relationship and you're in, even if you're not in disconnection, you're just in general everyday talking to somebody, actually, that you keep trying the same things, you'll say the same things,
yeah.
You will approach people in a similar way, you will, the amount of times I think, when I look back and I think, oh my God, I used to try, to get, a decision from my husband about when we were going to do something or when something was going to be done around the house. And I'd be constantly doing that the minute he got through the door. There's one of our favourite comedians, a guy called Chris Rock, who's really fabulous, and he goes on about, he makes lots of fun about relationships. And one of the things he says is he's talking to women who are saying that women always say they want to talk about everything. They want to talk, he says. And he says the thing is they want to talk before you've even got your foot in the door. And I look back and I think, what was I doing? I was trying over and over again to have a conversation with my husband before he'd even got in the front door. And I would just every time I hear this comedian say this, I think, my God, I did that very thing over and over again.
The man says, just let me get in the door. Let me have a drink. Let me sit down. Let me take a breath, woman. Before you start telling me all this stuff. So it's great. So what's your pattern? What do you do?
And the alternative, I was just thinking about a male example of that. How many times have we had a man say, well, my woman gets emotional about something, she'll cry or something, and I tell her to stop crying, and that seems to make it worse.
Yeah. So they keep telling you.
Yeah. So it's like doing the same thing, expecting different results.
So it really is a case of getting super aware of what do you keep trying, what's your pattern. Look at yourself more clearly. It's pretty much what we're saying through all of these 7 big mistakes. It starts with you recognising what's happening, what you're doing, and what response you're getting from others when you act in that way and when you run that pattern. So, and then of course it's always step 2.
Yes.
How can you accept this? Yeah.
Yes,
How can you get into an acceptance that the way that you are, the fact that you keep trying the same things over and over again, which is really the gift we gave ourselves. And what we really did is we both actually stepped up and went separately to a seminar. Now, when people go, oh, well, would you go to a seminar? Well, yeah, learning from other people is definitely a thing to do. And what's great is obviously you're watching us and, you're learning from us watching this. You're not actually at a seminar, although maybe it could be a seminar in your own home, who knows. And, on our surveys, about 75% of people say, I'd really rather learn at home, but maybe that's a pattern. Maybe it is. What we did is we said, okay, what can we do differently? Well, going to a seminar was completely different for me. I'd never been to anything like that before, but I went there and had massive realisation. So trying to sort of shut myself away in my home and listen to a tape or something seemed, it didn't really get the result. But when I went out into the big wide world and said, okay, show me world what else there is for me, of course I had a massive realisation of how much more there is to offer. So I think in our survey, only about 10 or 15% of people said they wanted to go to a go to a seminar, sorry. But, how would it be that, coming to a seminar, however big or small, we do 3-hour seminars, we do talks, we do dinners, we do, 2-day events in the UK, and you can come to Austria to the relationship retreat. See, this is going to massively change. In fact, in our recent survey of people coming to our events, we got 99% of people said it was fantastic, life-changing coming to see us. People that had actually watched and read books it was down at about 50%. Yeah, so know that if you really step out and do something completely different, stop doing what you've always done. If you've always read books, I always say, what do people do? They read a book, go, oh, that's great, tell all their friends it's a great book or not a great book, then put it on the bookshelf and go buy another book. They don't actually put into practice necessarily what they've learned in the book. Well, going to a seminar for us was like, okay, that's different. It's not just reading the book, it is coming away going, okay, I can put that and integrate that into my life. So learning from the experts. However, if you're only going to read a book, then great, if that's your pattern, think about what could you do to increase your level of success by doing something completely different to what you've ever done before, and becoming really aware of your patterns and accepting they're your patterns. Oh gosh, I'd never go to a seminar, I would never go to a seminar. Then if that's your pattern, then how would it be that in other areas of life you'll be going, well, I never do that either? So what is it that you're never doing that's actually preventing you from having the results that you really want?
Yeah, and how could you use that right now? I mean, maybe your pattern is to listen to something and go, okay, interesting, but not to actually look at how that's showing up in your life and then to decide what to do differently.
Yeah.
And so, how would it be if you absolutely took this big mistake number 5?
Yes.
Big mistake number 5 and, utilised it right now by looking, what is something that I keep doing over and over again but expecting a different result? So what could you do differently right this second that might get you a completely different result?
Yeah.
What could you do differently? What could you say differently? What could you do that will get you a great result instead of the same as you get?
We often have this discussion about, small steps and giant steps, and it's very fascinating because we actually don't quite totally agree with each other. We have an opinion and a belief about it. But actually, we both pretty much know that a giant step, when you take a giant leap, some people call it a leap of faith, and do something completely different to what you've always done. We both certainly took gigantic leaps of faith into the unknown and looked at it as an adventure, looked at it as exciting rather than, oh my gosh, that looks a bit scary, I don't think I'll do that. So of course, by not doing it, you're running your pattern of not doing it. That's the thing. So it's stepping outside your comfort zone. It's like we've got a comfort zone, and I think it's the Neil Donald Walsh, that great guy that wrote Conversation with God. He said, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. So staying in your comfort zone is just basically doing the same thing over and over again. So it's only when you step outside and do something completely different you are going to get a different result. So
what might that look like for you?
Yeah.
I mean, in relationship terms, we always talk about relationships, of course. In relationship terms, that might be as a man to actually step outside your comfort zone and show up in a really masculine way and ask that woman out.
Yes.
And treat her like a princess, which is what women want to be treated like. And maybe as a woman, it's taking a massive change and turning up and showing up like a princess, rather than somebody who's got their life in order and it's all very serious. And when you're in a relationship, we were coaching a couple in the States actually some time ago, and they were really stuck in this old kind of every time they had a conversation they were like completely out of connection, and we were actually letting them do it while we were there, weren't we, just to see if we can help them recognize the pattern. And we literally got to this point, didn't we? We just went, no, you just keep doing the same thing. And we just made a suggestion. We just said, how would it be if you just told her right now, instead of telling her everything that you hate about her and all the things that she does that you hate and everything, why don't you just tell her what you love about her? He looked at us as if we'd come off planet Zorg
never
or something. He's
thought of giving that.
Why would I do that while we're in the middle of an argument? And I'm going, well, give it a whirl. And that might seem like a massive step to him, to go from something that he was very resistant of, and he would justify all the reasons why you wouldn't do that, to somebody who just goes, you know what, this is what I love about you. And so that might be massive. And it was, wasn't it?
When they did it, it was like amazing, because basically, if you think about it, if you've ever been in a relationship where there's arguments involved, which is most of them, if you think about it, firstly, the arguments are nearly always the same argument. They might have a slightly different taint about them, but they're always about the same thing, really. And really, when you try to break that cycle, if you can really break through that cycle, you have to just do something different. And when we got those two guys to just tell each other what they loved about each other, they've been married for 13 years, never told each other that. Then probably when they first had their masks on and, you know, got together. It was, you know, tears all round basically, because it was absolutely amazing. And of course the connection they created was great. So it was a great example of trying something completely different and getting a completely different result and getting really connected. So there you go. Awareness and acceptance as always. And big mistake number 5 is, you know, stop trying the same old thing over and over again and
Things that are not working.
expecting to get a different result. So we're going to leave you there, and we'll be back with big mistake number 6 on the next recording. So we'll see you then.